Here's the news for today out of Japan Broadcasting Corporation, NHK World. Rapid meltdown in number 1 reactor. Tokyo Electric Power Company, the operator of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, says most of the fuel rods in the number 1 reactor had dropped to the bottom of the pressure vessel within 16 hours of the earthquake on March 11th. Wow, what's today, March 15th? Whew, I'm glad they could get that to us so quick. The utility revealed its study on the subject on Sunday. Tepco said it analyzed the data and calculated a timeline for the developments in the number 1 reactor on the assumption that the reactor lost its cooling system as soon as it was hit by the tsunami. Yeah. The firm said that within about 3 hours after the reactor automatically shut down, the cooling water had evaporated to a level at the top of the rods. In the next hour and a half, parts of the fuel rods are believed to have begun melting. The temperature of the fuel rods is believed to have reached 2,800 degrees Celsius at this stage, and the meltdown advanced rapidly. Almost all of the fuel rods melted and dropped to the bottom of the pressure vessel by 6:50 a.m. on March 12th. Tepco said that the temperature dropped after water was poured into the reactor starting at 5:50 a.m. on the same day. The firm says the melted rods created small holes on the bottom of the vessel, but that no major problems are developing there. It believes that the amount of radioactive substances that could have spread from the reactor will be limited. All right. Okay. Tepco confirms water in number 1 reactor. The operator of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant says the amount of highly radioactive water in the basement of number 1 reactor is increasing. The water is leaking from a hole or cracks in the containment vessel, but they're small, he just said. On Friday, Tokyo Electric Power Company workers found that the water in the basement is 4.2 meters deep. Isn't that over 12 feet? The company intends to measure radiation levels of the water as it tries to find ways to deal with the leakage. Also on Friday, a robot detected a maximum of 2,000 millisieverts of radiation per hour on the first floor of the reactor building. I've been hearing that was on the second, but Tepco says it was on the first. The radiation level is the highest since the March 12th accident. We keep setting new records for radiation levels. The company says the water is leaking from the pipes leading to the reactor. Well, it must have a backflush then, which were probably damaged as a result of a meltdown. The utility has been forced to revise its original plan before submitting it to the government on Tuesday. Well, if it's no radioactivity, yeah, right. Okay, don't be sarcastic, Ursula. Come on. There's a couple here. Radioactivity at number 3 reactor leaking into the ocean. The operator of Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant announced that radioactive materials continue to leak into the ocean near the plant. The Tokyo Electric Power Company said 150 becquerels of cesium-134 per cubic centimeter. He must be talking to us because they use millisieverts. Now come on, stick with one of these or the other. Was measured on Saturday morning near the water intake of the plant's Nuclear 3 reactor. That represents 2,300 times the legal limit. Now, when I went to the Ministry of Education, etc., and they have the data, it's like 0.34 of the legal limit, or those kind of decimals. So if you live in Japan, you might want to compare those. On Wednesday of this week, the utility found that highly radioactive water was continuing to flow into the ocean from a pit located near the water intake of the number 3 reactor. On Friday, Tepco detected 6,200 times the legal limit of cesium-134. The company says it will continue to monitor radioactivity levels near the plant. This was the 15th. Okay. Now, I didn't know this part. Tepco says years will be needed to remove the damaged fuel rods, the damaged fuel. The operator said of Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant says it may take a number of years to remove damaged nuclear fuel rods from the number 1 reactor. The Tokyo Electric Power Company announced on Saturday that most of the fuel rods in the number 1 reactor have melted and fallen to the bottom of the reactor, where they are submerged in water. Of course, isn't that the best case scenario for a meltdown? Tepco announced in April that it was aiming to get the reactor stabilized and cooled down in 6 to 9 months. However, no timeline has yet been proposed for the removal of the nuclear fuel. The company plans to study measures taken at the 1979 Three Mile Island accident in the U.S., where a meltdown of nuclear fuel rods also occurred. There it took almost 10 years to remove melted fuel at the bottom of the reactor, which resembled hardened lava. Well, I did not realize that. I wonder what the cancer rates around 3 Mile Island were for those 10 years, because I don't see how that there was nothing seeping out. My goodness. Okay, it released photos of the number 1 reactor, but you can go to this site and see yourself. This seems to be a pretty good news site, Japan Broadcasting Corporation, as far as what you hear out of Japan, not necessarily as far as the truth, but they tend to be being a little more truthful than they were. Oh, here it says Tepco to review cooling operation. We'll have to review its plan for stabilizing the nuclear facility after a large amount of radioactive water was found in the basement of one of its reactor buildings. Come on, get your stories together. The utility says it discovered an estimated 3,000 tons of contaminated water in the basement of the damaged number 1 reactor building. Fuel rods. Good Lord, these just... Okay, well that must have been 5 minutes before. It's all in the same day. Tepco says fuel rods melted and created a hole in the bottom of the pressure vessel, the fuel rods in number 1 reactor. It says the containment vessel also appears to be damaged. Highly radioactive water has leaked into the basement of the building. Oh, they didn't say that when they first said it. The company had planned to fill the containment vessel with water and set up a cooling system. Yeah, from 8,000 to 10,000 gallons per whatever they said. But it now says it will study a plan to circulate water directly from the basement through a decontamination filter and heat exchangers and back into the reactor. That's a good idea, actually. That's the first good idea they've come out with. You don't have to filter it. Shoot. It's radioactive in the containment. What the heck? On Tuesday, Tepco... Now, that might make sense. Instead of dumping it in the ocean. There you go. On Tuesday, Tepco is expected to submit a revised operational schedule to the government. However, a series of problems facing the company is likely to delay the efforts to bring all the reactors at the facility under control. Okay. Now, I want to do this this one here about the tsunami. Almost 24,500 dead or missing from March disaster. As of Friday, the number of dead or missing in the March 11th earthquake and subsequent tsunami stands at 24,524. The National Police Agency says a total of 15,037 people have been confirmed dead. 15,037 people confirmed dead so far. The figure includes those who died in aftershocks on April 7th and 11th. Miyagi prefecture has the most deaths at 8,984, followed by, I don't know how to say these, I'm very sorry, Iwate with 4,427 and Fukushima with 1,562. About 86% of the dead, or 12,874 people, have been identified. Police also say 9,487 people have been reported missing by relatives. Meanwhile, the number of people still living in evacuation centers stands at about 116,500, mostly in Miyagi, Iwate, and Fukushima prefectures. two of those prefectures, they didn't even tell them that they're supposed to send communications when there's a nuclear disaster, and they didn't. They heard it on the news. There's massive floating platforms heading for Fukushima, but it's only going to hold, and it's going to sit in the water, of course, 10,000 tons of water. Well, they use that in a day, just about. Oh, well. But Arnie Gunderson was talking about cleaning the water. I haven't heard about them cleaning any. I've heard about them dumping tons into the Pacific Ocean. And they say like they were making light of the 500 becquerels. I don't think they were making light. I think it was, God, look what's already in the Pacific that we had to dump in there. It was a realistic, admittance of truth. Well, what is this compared to how radioactive we already made the Pacific right there? We dumped 3 million gallons. It wasn't making light of it, I don't think. I mean, it was already 7-point-something million times over the limit when they had to dump 3 million gallons. Oh, Lord. Before they dumped it. Now, I want to show you one other thing on this, because in case you're interested in finding out about how the people are doing, and you go to TV, and this Japan 7 days. No, it wasn't. Japan 7 days. The program website. Recent stories. Visits. She says that better, but this is just the beginning of it.
This more than 50 days after the quake.
I just want y'all to see that, and I don't want them to get mad at me, but y'all should, for copyrights and all, but y'all should watch this. This is something.
As people evacuated to the top floor.
Oh yeah, that's where the mayor was.
Of the building, waves just kept coming in.
As high as that building. Yep.
Before the tsunami erased much of Minamisanriku, it was the kind of place you'd want to look at and linger in for a while.
And their hospital was hit, and only a third of the people survived.
And to address particular needs. A stethoscope that he found in a nursing room of the facility, and that is proving to be a valuable tool.
They still need lots of stuff. They still need lots and lots of stuff. Lots of medical
on the job
stuff.
Were themselves victims of the
They
disaster.
should put this on YouTube.
Masami Sasahara has been practicing medicine in this town for some 3 decades, much of that time in the general hospital. For the past 6 years, he's been in private practice. The tsunami washed his clinic away and his home. So Sasahara came to this shelter first as an evacuee. However, he's become a sort of physician in residence for others living here.
He's got a stethoscope. However, so an Israeli team came for a little while, and they left all
The
their
team had
equipment.
60 people in all, 14 doctors, the rest being nurses and other staff members. The equipment came from an emergency stockpile prepared in Israel. The clinic was able to take x-rays and do blood tests.
I had an x-ray taken. The doctor was kind and careful.
The Israeli team went home in mid-April, but it donated all the equipment to the town. That contribution has allowed Shizugawa Hospital to resume its mission. Resources are still stretched thin, but Minamisanriku once again has the bare essentials of a medical care system in place.
That's terrible.
I thought my work is here.
They should put this on. I want y'all to go watch this if you can. It's Japan 7 days. It's on the TV schedule at this NHK World TV. There's a whole bunch of them. But this is how you can see what's been going on in Japan. This has 3 parts. I've only even watched the first one, but they were pumping gas using a bicycle, getting it up out of the pumping it up by manpower, and driving around through the rubble. And most of them are staying in the gym, but they don't have the basic things. They need wheelchairs. They need. I mean, he has a stethoscope. We found a stethoscope, and it proved invaluable. If people knew about this, they could at least send the stuff they need to them, even if they don't want to go over there. But I think they should put this on YouTube and let people know, because most of us don't realize we've concentrated on the radioactivity, and these people are still living in their gyms, and 100-something thousand people are still, evacuees are still living in the places like the gym, like when we go stay at the schools or something, at the shelters, and you do that for at the most a few days, and these people are still there, and it's been 2 months, and the doctor was excited to have a stethoscope, and thank goodness Israel left their equipment. But this is just one little prefect, one little town, and that they could use some supplies. They definitely could use some supplies. Another news show was about a guy who's been in a wheelchair since he was in kindergarten, and he's getting together wheelchairs for him and putting notes. He owns some sort of company, and he's getting that together for him. But this is the first time that foreign doctors have been allowed inside Japan to help people. I couldn't believe that. I guess they're kind of private and proud. They want to help their own, but my goodness, we could send them some supplies. We could send them the medicines, and stethoscopes and medical supplies, and food, uncontaminated, tested food. Anyway, that's all. But I wish, for those of you interested, I'll put this link. But the show is Japan 7 days. It's a once-a-week program on the Japan Broadcasting System off this NHK World, and I'm going to have the NHK World link down there. And all you have to do is go to TV. Let's see. From the NHK, you go to, after the news stories, I clicked. This is what I did. Okay, I clicked. This was and if you want to see the stuff about the Fukushima, most of it's under society and others. There's some in top stories, but most of the stories are under society and others. And then you click TV and news, and this program right here, Japan 7 days, it's once a week. Program website. And then I clicked archives to find that one, and that was the one, recent stories, and that was the one on, it was, I think, May 7th. Yeah, Saturday, May 7th. And that's 3 parts. I only watched 1 part. Okay, that's all. Y'all have a good day.